and Managing Director Kevin Book joining us now. Kevin, it's good to have you on. I don't want to just focus narrowly on OPEC, but it's kind of newsy today. Sure. There's talk that they may increase the headline quota number. Of course, the big debate on the street and oil traders and whatever is, even if OPEC Plus raises the production number, do you think the actual production, hard barrels, will go with it, or can countries not make those new numbers?
Hi, Brian. Good to see you as always. And that is a critical question. Sometimes it does come up short. What we're looking at, though, in OPEC Plus land, over the 15 years of sort of shale liquids primacy, start in 2009 and go through the end of last year, 6 percentage points of market share decline. U.S. production has gained more than 11 percentage points. I think that gains are gains, maybe not all the gains that are on paper, but gains nonetheless.
Yeah, gains on paper, but gains nonetheless. And I also wonder how much, Kevin, the paper gains, the headline number, the stuff that we talk about, how much that will impact the oil market versus the real barrels that are added to the market. And more importantly, I think, what price those barrels are added to the market. Because if Russia keeps selling India, pretty cheap oil to get around or under price caps, that also is an issue.
Well, so the first part, I think if we look at the fourth quarter right now, my colleague Jacques Rousseau, who I think you know, is projecting about 2.65 million barrels per day of supply ahead of demand. So you're teetering on a pretty well-supplied market already. You don't need all of the headline to come true to have an impact. But you're very right to bring up the sanctions question and that continuation of those sales. To what extent would the Indian purchases stop? And to what extent would China be targeted by sanctions? Right now, it looks like the answer to the first question is not very much, at least not yet. And to the second question, not very much at all.
Yeah, not much at all. And you wonder if there's any at all in the not much at all. In your note, and I'm not going to steal from it, but I'm going to steal a little bit from it, because we're going to be speaking with Interior Secretary Doug Burgum next week. In that note, you quoted him where everyone's heard the term knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Well, now maybe we flip it, right? Power is knowledge, because if you don't have the electricity creation ability, you can't run the AI, which will be, quote, the brains of tomorrow. The U.S. looks to be leading the global competition for this, Kevin. What will it take for us to maintain that global lead?
Well, yeah, that was a very memorable quote in the cabinet meeting by the secretary last week. And it really gets to the change in focus, maybe not in the tools that are being used, because the last administration was an industrial policy focused administration, and so is this one. But in the last administration, it was about the CO2s. And in this administration, it's about the BTUs to run the GPUs. So I think it's very clear that they very much want to drive supply. And there's some concern about the idea that we're falling behind. The next thing the secretary said after that memorable quote was, China's outpacing us in adding power to their grid.
And we just had Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, and to some extent Narendra Modi of India, together. I mean, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin walking together, talking about organ transplants or whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact that they were together and there appears to be this new coalition along maybe with India, to me, when I look at that and I look at both the power demand from a country like India and the power supply from a country like Russia, it feels like a new global order on that end of the world. Am I overstating it? How do we read this, Kevin?
I don't think you are. I mean, there are degrees of alliance as opposed to, treaty partnership at sort of the farther extreme. But the repartitioning of the post-war global order into this Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS-mediated grouping. In his speech, President Xi did say that energy was one of the areas where they could lead. In fact, he mentioned not just energy, but clean energy, two resources where those partners, those alliance or affiliate partners, are quite strong.